Andy, what are you doing?
I'm just warming up, mate. I'm just warming up, properly.
That's surely not right, Andy.
No, that's not the right way to warm up, Matt, is it? Give me your take first. What should we be doing? I've walked through the door, my dartboard's there, I've got my darts out. How am I going to warm up?
Although that's an exaggerated version that we've just shown there is actually a little bit of legs in that. As you start to play more, as you start to get towards the professional scene, we talk about the calendar at the moment being stacked. I think that's where the warm-up needs to be different to your common player or the player who plays casually. Because I think the more you play, the more we need to be looking at a little bit of body maintenance in terms of mobility and in terms of some stretching. The amount of people right now struggling with RSI is going through the roof. Yeah. And the thing that we need to do is need to think about what darts is. We are standing very static. We're trying to stand as still as possible, apply an explosive movement to project an object through the air with force. That is often dropping onto joints, and we're starting to see a lot of injuries. So if you're starting to play quite regularly, I think the first thing you need to do is just a little bit of mobility work.
When I was running and I started to get into it, people said to me, start walking before you run. Don't put your trainers on and start sprinting. You've got to warm up your muscles. Dart's the same. You know, you need to be warming that arm up nice and gentle. And I like to think 15 to 20 minutes is not practice. It's not training, it's warming up. You need an hour so that you can have that 20 minutes warm up before you start practicing.
Think about what darts is, think about a crosshair, think about horizontal and vertical planes. If you can cover those two lines, and if you can reach the furthest points and the narrowest point, you can hit everything in between. So if you can get tops double 3, double 11, double 6 and bull, you've got everything covered in the furthest you've got to reach either way in the board. So if you work on those 5 points, everything else in between should be easier.
Start throwing at 20s, start throwing at 3s, go 11s, 6s. You're getting your arm warmed up, you're getting used to different areas of the board before you start into any of those heavy practice routines that you're going to do. So many people, and I'm sure you've heard this, whenever I go down to the pub on a Tuesday night, I never win. Yeah, you've probably had 5 minutes on the practice board. You've not even fully warmed up before they've gone game on. From a pro's perspective, how long would you be in the back room warming up before you even start practice? It could be hours, couldn't it?
If I was playing a pro tour, we're talking 3 hours, and they're in 1 hour blocks.
Yeah.
So the first hour is mostly just throwing and chatting with the people that you're practicing with. The next hour is games and routines. The last hour is isolated drills.
And you nailed it there by saying that first hour is just throwing and chatting, and that's exactly what I advocate. It doesn't mean anything. All it is you're loosening up those muscles in that arm. Now, I don't know whether this is fact or not, but I was actually told by a doctor once that when you start throwing, you tend to use your wrist muscles because it's the nearest muscle to start throwing. And after about 20 minutes, this muscle actually wakes up and kicks in.
That muscle?
I'm sure that's true, because how many times have you done that warm-up, done that long practice, and then all of a sudden, how much easier does it feel?
Yeah, you do get that sort of moment of change, don't you? You then start to throw the darts harder. I think routine's very important as well. Like I said, I'd break it into those 3. Now, when you get to phase 2 and you get to practice games and routines, it's vital that you have a range of the board. You need to make sure that you are thrown at every target. Certainly those main ones are doubles. You can't be going into a game where you haven't thrown a dart in that day at every single double.
Yeah.
So you need to make sure that you're using a full range of the board in that one, and then your isolated drills before you go in. When you're isolating little factors of the game, little sections of the game, and you play in those phases of play, that's where the real work happens.
So before you start doing your practice routines, before you go into your games of 501, before you're looking at your averages, all these things, warm up your body beforehand. It's mega important.
It's so important. Look how that was
really important.